66 million years ago, our planet faced a disaster, unlike any other in its long history. A massive asteroid, roughly 10 kilometers wide, slammed into the Earth near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact triggered earthquakes, tsunamis, wildfires, and a years-long global winter that blocked sunlight, killed plants, and collapsed the food chain. For 165 million years, dinosaurs had ruled every corner of the land, sea, and sky, from the towering Brachiosaurus to the fierce Tyrannosaurus rex. But this cataclysm marked the end of their reign. Most dinosaurs vanished forever, but they were not the only creatures alive at that time. A small group of hardy, unassuming animals survived the chaos, and over millions of years, these survivors evolved into every species of wildlife we see on Earth today. This is the untold story of the creatures that outlived the dinosaurs and built the modern animal kingdom from the ground up. In the immediate aftermath of the asteroid strike, the world was unrecognizable. Sunlight was dimmed by ash and dust, plant life withered, and large animals that needed huge amounts of food died off quickly. Dinosaurs, which dominated every major habitat, were simply too big and too dependent on stable ecosystems to survive. But smaller animals that required less food, could hide in safe spaces, and eat a wide range of foods, had a fighting chance. These survivors were not the giant, fearsome creatures of dinosaur documentaries. They were small, furry mammals, feathered birds, that had already split from their dinosaur relatives, tough reptiles, resilient amphibians, hardy fish, and countless insects. Each group had unique traits that let them weather the storm, and each would go on to carve out a new future for life on Earth. Let us start with the mammals, the group that would eventually rise to dominate the planet, alongside birds. Before the dinosaur extinction, mammals were small, secretive creatures that lived in the shadows of the great reptiles. Most were no bigger than a modern mouse or rat, with bodies built for burrowing, climbing, or hiding in dense vegetation. They had warm fur to regulate their body temperature, a critical advantage during the sudden global cooling. They were also omnivorous, eating seeds, insects, fruits, and small invertebrates, food sources that remained available even when large plants and herbivores disappeared. One of the most famous early survivors is Purgatorius, a tiny tree-dwelling mammal that lived around the time of the extinction. It had sharp teeth for eating insects and fruit, and flexible limbs for climbing, making it one of the first ancestors of primates, the group that includes humans, monkeys, and apes. Other early mammals, like Eomea and Gehalodons, were similarly small and adaptable, laying the groundwork for all modern mammals, from bats and whales to elephants and humans. As the planets recovered, mammals grew larger and more diverse, filling the ecological niches left empty by dinosaurs. They evolved into grazing herbivores, powerful predators, and tree-dwelling creatures, spreading across every continent and adapting to every habitat. Next are the birds, the only direct descendants of dinosaurs that survived the extinction. For decades, scientists have known that birds evolved from small feathered theropod dinosaurs like Velociraptor and Archaeopteryx. By the time of the asteroid strike, many types of ancient birds already existed, with wings, feathers, and lightweight skeletons that let them fly long distances. Not all birds survived, however large. Flightless birds, like Hesperornis and Ichthyornis, died out just like their dinosaur cousins. But smaller flying birds, with versatile beaks and the ability to eat seeds, insects, and small prey, made it through the disaster. These birds were the ancestors of every modern bird species, from eagles and owls to sparrows and penguins. After the extinction, birds flourished, evolving into thousands of different forms to fill every habitat. Some became flightless runners, like ostriches and emus. Others took to the oceans, like penguins and albatrosses. And some became tiny songbirds that fill our forests with music. Today, birds are the most diverse group of terrestrial vertebrates on Earth, a living link to the age of dinosaurs. Reptiles are another group of survivors that defied the extinction. Unlike dinosaurs, many reptiles had traits that let them survive harsh conditions. Turtles, for example, had hard, protective shells that let them hide from danger and survive long periods without food or water. They lived in fresh water, salt water, and on land, and their slow metabolism meant they needed very little energy to survive. Crocodiles and alligators were also tough survivors. They lived in water, could go months without eating, and were able to tolerate changing temperatures and food shortages. Lizards and snakes, too, survived by hiding in small spaces, eating insects and small prey, and adapting to the changing environment. These reptiles did not evolve into completely new forms as quickly as mammals and birds, but they persisted and diversified, becoming the reptiles we know today. They remained a vital part of ecosystems around the world, proving that resilience can be just as powerful as rapid evolution. Amphibians, fish, and insects were also critical survivors that helped rebuild life on Earth. Amphibians, like frogs and salamanders, have thin skin and live both in water and on land, but they were able to survive by living in small, stable, freshwater habitats that avoided the worst effects of the extinction. Fish, too, thrived in oceans, rivers, and lakes, adapting to changing water temperatures and food supplies. Bony fish and sharks survived the disaster and evolved into the thousands of fish species we see today, from tiny minnows to giant whale sharks. Insects, the most numerous animals on Earth, were incredibly resilient. They could hide in soil, under bark, and in small crevices, and they ate decaying plants and other small organisms. Insects survived the extinction in massive numbers, and they went on to become essential pollinators, decomposers, and food sources for larger animals. Without these tiny invertebrates, the recovery of plant and animal life would have been impossible. Over the next 10 million years, the Earth slowly healed. Sunlight returned, plants regrew, and forests and grasslands spread across the planet. The empty ecological niches left by the dinosaurs were quickly filled by the survivors. Mammals grew from tiny, mouse-sized creatures to large, diverse animals. Early horses, camels, rhinos, and predators, like Andrewsarchus, roamed the land. Birds evolved into new forms, taking to the skies, forests, and oceans. Reptiles, amphibians, fish, and insects diversified into countless species, creating complex interconnected ecosystems. This period, known as the Cenozoic era, is often called the Age of Mammals and Birds, because these two groups became the dominant land animals. Every animal we see today, from our pet dogs and cats to wild tigers, giraffes, eagles, and turtles, can trace its ancestry back to these small, tough survivors that lived through the dinosaur extinction. What makes this story so incredible is that these survivors were not the strongest or the largest creatures of their time. They were small, unassuming, and adaptable traits that turned out to be more important than size or strength when disaster struck. The dinosaurs ruled through power and size, but the survivors ruled through flexibility and resilience. This lesson is written into every branch of the animal family. Tree life on Earth is not just about dominating, but about surviving, adapting, and growing. The creatures that outlived the dinosaurs did not just survive, they rebuilt the planet, creating the rich, diverse wildlife that makes our world so amazing. Today, we can still see the marks of that ancient extinction in every animal around us. A sparrow flying outside your window is a direct descendant of the small birds that survived the asteroid. A squirrel scampering up a tree comes from the tiny mammals that hid in the shadows of dinosaurs. A turtle crossing the road carries the same tough genes that let its ancestors survive the darkest days in Earth history. We humans, too, are part of this story. Our primate ancestors began as small tree-dwelling mammals that survived the extinction, and over millions of years, evolved into the intelligent, social creatures we are today. The story of the dinosaur extinction is often told as a tragedy, the end of the mighty dinosaurs. But it is also a story of hope and rebirth. It shows that life on Earth is incredibly tough, that even after the worst disasters, life finds a way to carry on. The survivors that came after the dinosaurs are not just footnotes in history, they are the architects of the modern world. They turned a planet, devastated by disaster, into a home for millions of species, including us. As we look at the animals around us today, we are looking at the legacy of those ancient survivors. Every feather, every fur, every scale, and every fin is a reminder of that incredible journey, 66 million years ago. The age of the dinosaurs may be over, but their legacy lives on in the birds that fly our skies, and the survivors that outlived them live on in every animal we share the planet with. This is the true wonder of the animal world. Life is eternal, resilient, and always ready to rise again, no matter how dark the past may be. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel